So welcome to RedClean. The video discussion that we're going to follow with this particular session would be about idiopathic interstitial pneumonias or typically ILDs. Okay, it's going to be an interesting session and we'll be discussing all types of ILDs in and out, radiology, histology and clinical sciences. Basically a multidisciplinary discussion and basically how to approach ILDs on an HRCT and what all a radiologist must know. The information that a radiologist is expected to give to a clinician. Will everything will be discussed in this in detail or in the sufficient or adequate amount. So, but before this particular video, if you have not watched basic videos or you're not, if you are a beginner, I would suggest that you basically go on the same channel and just see videos how to describe findings on HRCT. There are set of 3 videos is there, so it will give you an insight on whatever you see, how you describe it, so that it will become rest all these diseases like sarcoidosis, hypersensitive pneumonitis and ILDs, they become easier because you know how to describe it. And in this particular video will not be going in much of the detail of the specific findings or the criterias. We'll be just simply looking simply writing the findings, and basic thing is that I will expect that the viewer of this particular video knows basics, okay, or has watched the previous videos on basics. So let's delve into it. And so in idiopathic interstitial pneumonias, let's start the discussion. First of all, just like every other word, I'll first break the word, okay, and try to get the information out of it. So the word is idiopathic, and we have interstitial pneumonia as well. Okay, so we have idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. Now pneumonia is simply a lung infection. It appears to be a lung infection. Okay, and idiopathic means something that has unknown cause, or the etiology is unknown. Now pneumonia means simply the inflammation is in lung parenchyma affected. And in lung parenchyma, what is affected? So interstitium is affected. Interstitium of lung parenchyma is affected. Okay, okay, that is what is our idiopathic interstitial pneumonias. Now important point that is to be discussed is, we'll be having so many idiopathic interstitial pneumonias. We'll be discussing the classification in detail, okay, and the categories they are put into. But what is more important, why they are labeled as idiopathic? Do they really have an unknown cause, or they have actually? So yeah, definitely when I call it to be, when I use the term ILD, interstitial lung disease, I simply mean that there's a disease that affects interstitium of the lung. Okay, now it can have various causes, and if I start tabulating the causes, example would be the first example would be collagen vascular disease. Simply writing CVDs, collagen vascular disease. Example, we know what is it is, like rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma. Okay, there are so many. Sjogren's. Okay, so collagen vascular disease. Now, a cause of an ILD could be an exposure to occupational exposure could be one thing. Toxic exposure could be one thing. Toxic fumes. There could be drugs causing ILDs. Okay. Then you may have, radiation may be a cause. Radiation may be a cause. Okay. Radiation may be a cause. You may have familial causes. I'm writing here only familial causes. That if the disease is running in the family from generations to generations. Okay, so there are many causes that has to be discussed. or the patient might be, having it in response to an infection also. Okay, let's say if the patient is immunodeficient, you know patient might be having autoimmune disease, you know okay, or immunodeficient could be, patient could be HIV, patient could be of AIDS with low CD4 count, patient could be post transplant or on steroid therapy. Okay, so all these are the causes. Okay, when we want to tabulate causes of ILD, they can be associated with so many things. Okay, but our discussion, the topic that I have written is idiopathic. This means they have a known cause. So what does it mean? It simply means that when you discuss ILD, we'll discuss ILD in three disciplines. Okay, and whenever we discuss ILD, three things come into play. One is your clinical aspect of ILD, second is your histopathological aspect, and third aspect is radiological aspect. These three aspects are dealt together whenever we discuss a concept of ILD. And so the ILDs, they can have many causes. Many causes. I just wrote those causes. Among those, once you have ruled out these causes, you can still have ILD when you are not able to find a cause. Okay, so the cause become unknown, and that is where if you have certified it to be an unknown cause, that you are not able to get the cause after so much exploration. Okay, uh, whether on clinical terms, histopathological terms, or radiological terms, you label it to be an idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. Okay, and that is what our purpose of discussion, idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. So remember this thing, we rule out causes that are expected. Okay, that are expected. Now, idiopathic interstitial pneumonia, this means that idiopathic interstitial pneumonia is one among the etiologies. Okay, after all the etiologies you have ruled out, so it becomes a diagnosis of exclusion. Okay, but important thing to be considered is that even if it is, whether it is idiopathic or it has a cause, okay, whether it is idiopathic or it has a cause, the things are gonna be same. Things are gonna be same in both of them. The clinical, histopathological, and radiological findings are gonna be same. Okay, they're gonna be same, or there might be few variations or few findings that favor a particular cause. Okay, that may be there, but typically they are same. So if you encounter a picture on HRCT and on histopathology or on clinical, uh, you diagnose it to be an ILD. Now the next step becomes whether the ILD is having a cause, or ultimately if you rule out those causes, whether it becomes an idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. Okay, so that will be our purpose of discussion. So I explained what is idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. Okay, because in next discussion after idiopathic interstitial pneumonias, I'll be discussing collagen vascular diseases one by one and what type of ILD pattern they show. Okay, so since we know that on clinically, histopathology, radiology, they are same irrespective of the cause. So we have patterns. We have patterns. Okay, we have enlisted few patterns, and these patterns are the things that we are going to discuss. So what we are going to discuss is, in this IIP session, we are discussing the patterns. Okay, and when we'll discuss on collagen vascular diseases or other causes for that matter, like drugs, okay, hypersensitivity, and pneumoconiosis, there we discuss that these patterns can come up there also in particular causes. But now I'll be discussing these patterns in solo, Okay, let's example, if I'll discuss UIP pattern, I'll be telling you how a UIP pattern looks. Okay, and whenever when we'll approach, say for example, rheumatoid arthritis, we'll realize that rheumatoid arthritis can cause UIP pattern. So it's a known cause of UIP. Okay, but once I have ruled out all the causes of UIP, then ultimately I diagnose it to be an idiopathic interstitial pneumonia, that is your idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Okay, so that is a thing. Now important thing, another thing to be considered is, in any pattern, whatever ILD it is, I just enlisted that it can appear, there is a clinical aspect to it, there is a histopathological aspect to it, and there is a radiological aspect to it. So for every ILD or ILD pattern, for every ILD pattern, if you see, if you go by clinical aspect, clinically, patient typically, in every ILD you will have, dyspnea. Okay, you will have dyspnea. It could be long-standing dyspnea. It could be an acute, typically in your acute interstitial pneumonia, we'll discuss that. Okay, but commonly it's a long-standing dyspnea. Okay, before diagnosis, before the diagnosis, before patient comes, and patient can have chronic cough, which is typically dry. Okay, on physical examination, patient presents with clubbing due to chronic hypoxia, low grade hypoxia. Okay, and on PFT findings, typical restrictive pattern, where you have this FEV1, because FVC decreases. This ratio of FEV1 by FVC basically increases. Typical restrictive pattern. Okay, and the DLCO is also reduced, basically diffusion capacity. Okay, that is reducer. So these are the common features, for every ILD, in different proportions definitely, or with variations, but commonly these are the clinically. Now histopath and radiology, there's a correlation between them. Okay, that is why when we want to study the radiological aspect, we go for an HRCT, and here we require a tissue diagnosis. We go for a lung biopsy, and in the lung biopsy there are, it could be an open lung biopsy, it could be a transbronchial biopsy, there is also cryobiopsy. Okay, now so for every ILD pattern, okay, we are having a term of histopathology that gives us histopathological image of that term. Okay, histopathologically, and there will be a term. Okay, so there will be a term that is used histopathologically and radiologically. Okay, histopath and radiology. Example, I'll explain it with an example. Like for example, UIP is a term. If I expand it, it is usual interstitial pneumonia. Now this is a term that we'll use on histopath and radiology. On HRCT or HP, you will use UIP. Okay, UIP. On HRCT or on histopath, you will use UIP pattern. Okay, now its clinical counterpart, when we discuss its clinical counterpart, or the syndrome that it causes, okay, or the idiopathic clinical counterpart, I should write idiopathic clinical counterpart. We are discussing idiopathic interstitial pneumonias. We are not discussing the specific causes like collagen vascular disease. So I presume that everybody or who is viewing this video knows that what we are going to discuss is idiopathic interstitial pneumonia. Okay, and if I see an ILD pattern on HRCT or on histopathology, the clinical idiopathic counterpart for that particular pattern say for example for UIP it is called IPF, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Okay, so this is the clinical counterpart. So whenever I'll write about UIP, I'll write it like this: UIP slash IPF. This suggests that it is UIP on histopath and radiology. Okay, if I say, if I look for HRCT or on biopsy image, I'll call it to be an UIP pattern. On clinically, when when the patient will have these clinical signs and symptoms or investigation findings, we'll call the patient to be suspected IPF. Okay, once we have ruled out all those causes. Okay, another example would be, so okay, so when I'll classify all those ILDs or okay IIPs, I'll give their histopathological and radiological pattern, which we use, the term that we use on histopath or radiology, both, and the term that is its idiopathic syndrome, idiopathic clinical counterpart. So there are two terms for every particular ILD that you need to know. Okay, and so let's move into the classification of ILD. Okay, so far what we have discussed is that we have ILDs which can have cause or which cannot, which can have unknown cause. So after ruling out all the causes, we have diagnosis exclusion of idiopathic interstitial pneumonias. So now what we are going to discuss is IIPs, idiopathic interstitial pneumonias, and among them we have classified it into multiple patterns. The pattern, these patterns have a specific name histopathologically and radiologically. Another name is given to their idiopathic clinical syndrome. So there are two terms specifically for each, idiopathic interstitial pneumonia, and we're going to write that. So how do we classify, how do we classify idiopathic interstitial pneumonia? Just look at this. So we have IIPs, and how do we classify them? So the classification, the current classification, basically what it does, it classify IIPs, okay, and this current classification is basically by American Thoracic Society and European Respiratory Society. So it's a, these are the two societies that have come together to give the classification. All those things which we're going to discuss, they will be given by these associations as only. So it's basically American Thoracic Society and European Respiratory Society. So this classification is given by this, and it's a 2002 classification. Okay, so the current classification would be like this. Okay, so we divide IIPs into these two. Okay, it's your major IIPs. Okay, then is your rare IIPs. Now among major IIPs, you divide it into three categories. Okay, there are total 8 entities that we're going to discuss. So among major IIPs, we're going to discuss it into three categories. Okay, depending on whether it is chronic, whether it is acute or subacute. Okay, on that basis. So we have chronic fibrosing IIPs. Second, we have smoking related IIPs. And third category is of acute and subacute IIPs. Okay, three categories, and there are two in each one of them. So we have two chronic fibrosing IIPs, two smoking related IIPs, okay, and acute and subacute IIPs, definitely two in this, and there are two in rare IIPs. Okay, so what are the name? So let's discuss the name. Okay, so among chronic fibrosing IIPs, okay, we'll be discussing about the first and most important, okay, would be your UIP, usual interstitial pneumonia. Okay, second chronic fibrosing IIPs would be NSIP. That is your non-specific interstitial pneumonia. Okay. Now the clinical syndrome or idiopathic syndrome that is associated with it is your IPF, and here it is idiopathic NSIP. Just like it is idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, it is idiopathic NSIP. Okay. Now among smoking related IIPs, okay, it is your respiratory bronchiolitis related ILD, RB ILD. Okay, RB. Now here, if you see respiratory bronchiole is a histopath or radiological image, and this is your clinical syndrome. This is your clinical syndrome. RBILD disease, respiratory bronchiolitis, interstitial lung disease. Respiratory bronchiolitis is a histopath or red image. Okay, second thing would be, that is why when we call it to be on histopath or rad, when you just see the HRCT image, you will call it to be respiratory bronchiolitis. Well, if you know there are symptoms, then only you call it to be an RBILD. If patient is asymptomatic, you call it to be an RB, respiratory bronchiolitis. Okay, so if you just see if I ask somebody that I have findings of HRCT, on HRCT or biopsy that suggests that patient has a smoking related IIP, but the patient is asymptomatic, then it doesn't become an ILD. It becomes the word or the suffix ILD is added only when the patient has a clinical syndrome associated with it. So the clinical counterpart here is RBILD. Okay. If you diagnose it to be in asymptomatic patient, then it becomes only RB, respiratory bronchiolitis. Okay. So another smoking related IIP which is a part of the same spectrum of smoking related IIP is your DIP, basically desquamative interstitial pneumonia. Okay, desquamative interstitial pneumonia, and the idiopathic clinical syndrome associated with it is also named a DIP. So the DIP and DIP, okay, both are same. Among acute and subacute, okay, the first is your organizing pneumonia. Organizing pneumonia. Now, organizing pneumonia is your histopathological or radiological part, but the clinical counterpart for that is your COP, and here it is cryptogenic. The word C is basically the letter C is suggest cryptogenic organizing pneumonia. This is organizing pneumonia. Word cryptogenic means also unknown cause. It also means the same, unknown cause. Okay, so organizing pneumonia or cryptogenic organizing. Okay, this is your clinical. This is your clinical. Here I have basically written clinical first, although by convention I write clinical only after. The second is your what? Diffuse alveolar damage and acute interstitial pneumonia. So remember, diffuse alveolar damage is what you see histopath. Clinically, you call it to be acute interstitial pneumonia, clinical idiopathic syndrome. Okay. So these are the organizing pneumonia and acute interstitial pneumonia. So it's a histopath. Similarly, there are two rare IIPs. Okay. One is your LIP, which is your lymphocytic interstitial pneumonias. Okay. And second is your, okay, obviously its clinical counterpart would be idiopathic LIP. Idiopathic LIP. Okay, and the second most important, that is your rare, although that is your PPFE. PPFE. Okay, and just add I, idiopathic PPFE, to make it its clinical counterpart. What is the full form of PPFE? Is pleuro pulmonary fibroelastosis. Fibroelastosis. Okay, this is your PPFE. So it comes into rare IIPs. So these are the 8 entities that we are going to discuss. Okay, one by one we're going to discuss them. Okay, so that's why this video is going to be a little long, so I'll divide it into parts. Okay, so this is the classification of IIPs. Okay, so we need to know this classification, and once we have read this classification well, now we'll start one by one. So I'll start with the UIP first. Okay, and we'll have a one video on UIP itself. Okay, and others, other particular IIPs a little bit smaller than UIP, but UIP is really important to know, and why it is important to know, I'll just tell. Okay, so just watch the next session. Okay, on UIP. Okay, it's there. Thank you.